Thank you so much to our friends at Senzontle for, as always, providing interpretation for our worker co-op policy pulses. It is really wonderful to have like long-term relationships with folks to do this kind of support work and make sure our advocacy work is accessible. So hi everyone, my name is Mo Manklang. I am the policy director at the US Federation of Worker Cooperatives. I am really excited to see folks here for our last Worker Co-op Policy Pulse of the year. This is a space for getting updates about what's going on across the worker co-op ecosystem in terms of advocacy. So we're talking about advocacy with local governments, federal governments, state governments, doing the work of seeing how the government can best support the development of worker co-ops in the United States. So you'll hear a lot today from myself and some from some others about what's going on with the Federation. Hopefully, I think we're waiting on one speaker. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear a little bit of shares from the Hike the Hill that just happened in Washington, D.C. You'll hear some updates about kind of federal work that's happening right now to support employee ownership. We have a spotlight from our friends at Co-op Cincy. And then we're going to have a discussion. So we actually want to hear from all of you in terms of like what you would like to see the Federation focusing on. We, through our policy and advocacy member council, we do a lot of work to prioritize what are the advocacy priorities of our membership organization. But it is, the meetings the council meetings that we have don't work. The time does not work for everyone. So we like to create different spaces for people to be able to join and share feedback and really make sure that we're engaging in a lot of different spaces about the work we do with governments at the Federation. So welcome everyone. And I just want to give a quick shout out to SEIU UHW, who has graciously supported the worker call policy pulses this year to doing this, like putting these presentations together takes a lot of work. It takes a village of people to make sure that everything gets out, that we're prepared, and that we're able to uplift the work of worker cooperators and allies. All of this work, it's a lot of labor, and SEIU has been an amazing partner in that work. So I wanted to shout out to them. So let's get into things. So first up, just a couple of updates from the Federation. Maybe I will start by saying that this session is going to be recorded. So if you are the kind of person who likes to take notes on things, no worries. You will get the links to the slides. You will get a recording after this. We'll put that together and probably send out next week. So just a couple of updates. If you don't know already, hopefully you got an email in your inbox today about our worker benefits program. So the Federation offers dental, vision, access to like accident and disability insurance. We do this work together as a membership organization to offer competitive pricing and access for different kinds of insurances for our members. And open enrollment is happening now. So if your organization needs that kind of support, I would encourage you to check out the worker benefits office hours that are coming up on November 15th. So we also have our Immigrant Co-ops Council meeting is coming up on November 16th. And so, there's links to all of these in the slides. So we'll make sure to share this afterwards. And then, and you can always go to www.usworker.coop for links and registration for any of our upcoming events. Let me see. Just waiting for, oh, you know what? We'll go back one sec. So, I am, while this is a public space, I do want to encourage people, if you are a member of the U.S. Federation of Worker Cooperatives and you're really interested in this work, I would encourage you, if you can, to try to make our Policy and Advocacy Council calls. The next one is happening on December 7th. All the meetings are at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm dropping the link to register. Unfortunately, that webinar is only, or that council meeting is only available in English right now. But if you are interested in advocacy work and you are a monolingual Spanish speaker, please do reach out to our membership team. And it's good to understand the need for interpretation in those spaces, and it helps us to fundraise to make those spaces more accessible. So let me see. So let me see. Sure. Oh, wonderful. So we're gonna actually jump into things. I know we've already heard a lot from me already, but I want to actually bring Shar Vries from Cooperative Development Services to talk a little bit about the Hike the Hill that just happened. So in October, the National Cooperative Business Association hosts their annual Co-op Impact Conference. And that conference brings together co-ops of all sectors to talk about the co-op sector. And part of that conference includes visiting Congress. And we worked with them to help make sure there was a lot of representation of worker co-ops on the Hill, and that our congresspeople were hearing from worker owners. We were excited to have to actually sponsor a member from Portland to attend the Hike the Hill. So we were really excited to do that with the support of the Cooperative Fund of New England. So I'll give them a shout out. But I want to bring up Shar, who's an amazingly involved member of the Policy and Advocacy Council, and always brings like so many wonderful questions and experience. And I know this wasn't your first, like advocacy session, but I wanted to hand it over to you just to share a little bit about like why you did it, what your experiences were like, and why is this like an important activity to take part in?
Mo, could I interrupt real quick just to give a quick reminder to the speakers to please join an interpretation channel if you're not bilingual, and also to speak slowly so that the interpretation for the interpreters. Thank you.
Thanks, John Michael.
How do I join an interpretation channel?
So in the toolbar at the bottom, you should see a little globe that says interpretation.
Oh, yep.
And then you just choose English.
Okay, I am in English. I shouldn't.
You're in the
Okay.
right place. Yeah.
Okay,
You're
great. So thank you so much, Mo. You guys, I am sitting in the hallway of my son's school, where he's playing basketball. So I apologize if you hear some outside ambient chatter. But Mo, thanks so much. You're very generous in saying that I'm really active in the policy and advocacy um, committee, so to speak. Um, the reason why I went to the Impact Conference and specifically Hike the Hill, I do have a background in working for the Wisconsin State Legislature for 14 years and know the impact of constituents and citizens speaking to state policy or speaking to policymakers, whether it's on the local, state or national level. And this was the first year post-COVID that NCBA was able to do Hike the Hill because there were no longer barriers as a result of COVID. So NCBA did a fantastic job of matching people up in groups. And I see Kristen Forty from UWCC, who is also on Hike the Hill, as maybe some others on the call here. But speaking to my experience, again, Aaliyah Ned from NCBA did a fantastic job of putting groups together that were multi-sector and provided a variety of points of view in each group. And so I met with, our group met with, I should say, and we were supposed to meet with 5 legislators, and we ended up, due to 2 cancellations, ended up meeting with 3. And so those were, for folks on the call, if you're familiar with Rep Van Dwyn, is it, am I saying that right, Mo?
Yes, Van Dyne.
Okay. Senator Martin Heinrich, and this with staff from each of these offices, and Senator Tommy Tuberville. So with Rep Beth Van Dwyn, we met with her legislative director, Ryan Dilworth, and Rep Van Dwyn, she is, from what I understand, Mo, on the House Small Business Committee, and is the lead on the House Small Business Committee. And we talked with her about the SBA 7A loans, and her staff, or talked with her staff, I should say, with Ryan Dilworth, the legislative director, and he said that she's very supportive of changing that for cooperatives. And let me just say that the 3 that we met with, their staff, were very, regardless of political affiliation, they were very knowledgeable and very respectful of our points of view, our positions that we're taking on items. And so Rep Van Dwyn's office was very favorable on 7A loans, as well as Senator Martin Heinrich, who we met with the legislative council of his office. He's from New Mexico, a Democrat from New Mexico. We met with Travis Knight there. And not only did they express for all of our worker co-op positions that we had, including 7A loans, he had offered actually a letter of support for grants if we needed them like in the future to apply for grants. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. And then Senator Tommy Tuberville, there were two people that we met with, their legislative correspondent and legislative assistant, Clay Parker and Emma Johnson. They encouraged us, they were also supportive of the 7A loans and allowing cooperatives to be part of that and to remove the barriers of that. But it also encouraged us to talk with our, our local economic development agencies, so to speak. But they were very, again, very open, very honest, and very knowledgeable. So I don't know, Mo, other than that, if you want me to report on anything else. We did, for those folks who are involved in and do receive the Rural Cooperative Development Grant funding from USDA, we encouraged a 3-year allocation for that, and that was favorable with each of those offices. But they all both recognized, or I should say stressed, that things are obviously tight with the budget, that there was going to be an impending potential, additional government shutdown coming forth, which, as we've seen in the news, it's 8 days away, that Congress needs to come to some kind of conclusion on that. But I was very impressed. I thought that there would be, especially from the Republican representatives, Republican, elected officials, that there would be some kind of maybe consternation or not objection, but there really wasn't. So I was very impressed. Again, I was very impressed with the coordination from NCBA and Aaliyah Ned, the head of government relations there. And I would encourage everyone to, send a letter to your respective representative and senator in Congress on those issues, because they really do pay attention, especially to constituents. And I know Mo has said that over and over again. So I will sing in her choir for that as well, because it really does make a difference.
Absolutely. Thanks, Shar. You hit on a couple, I think, very, important things. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Mo again. It's, I feel like it can be daunting, and I know, Shar, you, because you used to work in a government office, that like you've seen kind of both sides of it, and so it's really just nice to hear kind of like the experience of like being on the constituent side, and and what that experience is like. I wonder if you have anything to share just a little bit about, like, if someone is like nervous about talking to the representative, do you have any advice for them, or encouragement?
Yes, I do. So in this instance, well, first of all, they're people. They are people just like us, even
Sure.
though we may think of them as on some maybe type of little podium or pedestal. They are just like us. And so are their staff. Their staff deals with many topics per day, and don't be intimidated, but we were very prepared with NCBA, by NCBA, with briefing us on the issues that I may not have been, and some other people in our group. I was in a group of 3 that some of us may not have been aware of, but collectively as a group, we pretty much could go from one person to the other on being the point person for a topic. So we didn't have to know, I as an individual did not have to know all of the topics, because the National Cooperative Business Association represents all sectors of cooperatives. And I have a, specific place in my heart for worker co-ops. So I was more apprised personally and professionally on that issue, but don't feel that you need to be an expert. And if you are in a group, you have others to rely on. But if you are writing an email or a letter to your elected official, again, you don't have to be an expert. I think there are some things that if you're talking about a specific topic like SBA 7A loans, the Work Act, there are things that people like Mo can help you with, to give you talking points, that you don't have to sound like you're uneducated about a topic. So you have people to support you in the larger worker co-op community. And so don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated, and they truly, your representatives, whether you are for or against an issue, really do want to hear from you. And your voice does matter.
Thanks so much, Shar. I really appreciate you sharing your experience, and just want to echo that, most of the time you are meeting with staff, you're not usually meeting with representatives themselves. And these people are just people like you and me. And the reason that we do these things is to, do the education that's needed to grow worker co-ops in the US. So,
yep. And 9 times out of 10, Mo, to that point, the staffer knows more than the legislator does. So, so even though you might think, oh, I'm just meeting with a staff person, actually that staff person is very influential to how the legislator will vote, because they know more than the legislator does on any one particular issue. Again, 9 times out of 10, I would say. So just from my experience.
Yeah, thank you so much. Cool.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna shift now to talk a little bit about some of kind of the national work that's going on, and then we'll hear from Ellen Vera from Co-op Cincy. I am sure that most, if not all of you, are aware of the ongoing crisis that is happening in Gaza right now, and as a part of the work of the Federation is to, from time to time, particularly when members bring to our attention issues that they want to see supported, or to have the Federation put out a statement on, or endorse a platform, or a sign-on letter. That is something that is available to any member of the U.S. Federation of Worker Cooperatives. And so recently we received an ask to put out a statement of sorts on regarding what's happening in Gaza. So I wanted to share, just as an update for our members and for others, that the Federation joined the Rising Majority's call to action to demand a ceasefire and stand in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. I am sharing a link in the chat if you would like to read the statement or learn more about how you can take action. We encourage people to do so, and you know, and like, you know, this is a membership organization. We follow the lead of our members, and you know, it is you know, this is a moment where it is it's not where bold statements have to be made, and serious actions need to be taken in order to ensure the safety of people, of the Palestinians, and to to really acknowledge the intersectionality of this work, right? So you know, what hurts any of us hurts all of us. And I think that it is as you know, a lot of membership organizations are really focused on just the just like the economics, right? The industry, the sector. But I think at the Federation, we know that these things all affect each other, and because we uphold the cooperative values, like part of those values is concern for community and being involved. So if you're a member of the Federation and there are things that you want us to support, please reach out. You can always email policy@usworker.coop to request endorsement. You know, this is part of me sharing this here is part of our kind of commitment to transparency, and making sure that people know like what we are supporting and when we are supporting it. So that's one update I wanted to share. We are also doing a lot of work at the national level in terms of kind of like big federal programs that are that include employee ownership. So one of them that we've talked about in this space several times is the Regional Innovation and Tech Hubs program through the Economic Development Administration. So the Tech Hubs program, the goal of the program is to develop technological centers throughout the United States. So basically they're forming coalitions in different kind of like metropolitan areas to help cultivate new businesses and new strategies to create jobs in the tech industry here. And as a part of the Tech Hubs bill, it was like part of the statute included employee ownership, and they made it clear that employee ownership is a priority, and that folks, like especially kind of like co-op development folks and people that are kind of like organizing in the metro areas, should have a seat at the table, and we want to encourage that. So the first round of funding already has been granted out, but what we're trying to do at the Federation is connect with those grantees. So I think there were 20 different areas that were granted money to strategize on how they might develop tech businesses. And our goal is to connect our members to those organizations that are doing that work, to make sure that they're prioritizing democracy in the workplace, and utilizing worker co-ops as a tool. So if you are someone that is kind of connected to co-ops that are doing tech work, reach out to me. We've done a lot of analysis on where the tech hubs are being developed. If you want to put in the chat, I can also follow up with you afterwards. But we're doing work in the next couple of months to make sure that we're sharing information about those opportunities, and how you can get connected with your local region. So that's one thing. And then the last thing that I want to share is about the Work Act. And so let me share my screen again. So the Work Act passed at the end of last year, and that bill authorized the creation of an employee ownership initiative within the Department of Labor. And something that this is like a really big opportunity to really raise the profile of worker ownership in the United States. So the bill includes supporting both worker cooperatives and employee stock ownership plans. We've been doing a lot of work, through many members of the council. You'll hear directly from Ellen Vera in a second about a lot of the work that they're doing in Cincy. And it's to make sure that the Department of Labor actually is centralizing worker co-ops in this initiative. The act was authorized, but they did not actually appropriate any money for that. So right now where we stand is, the Department of Labor is creating an office. They're actually hiring right now for that job. I will drop a link in the chat for that job opening. It's open through November 14th, I believe. So if you know anyone in the Washington, D.C. area that is really stoked about worker co-ops and would be interested in working in this office, please be sure to share that around. They're doing a lot of work. They're doing a lot of interviews with worker owners, with co-op developers, with other support folks. It's actually been probably one of the best experiences I've had with the federal government in terms of them actually sticking to their word, starting the office that they said they would start, and even without money appropriated, are actually starting to do the work. So there's two different kind of like lanes of things that need to happen. Number one is working with the Department of Labor to do like education and outreach and making sure that they're talking to, all the businesses that we hold up as really great worker-owned businesses. And the second is actually getting that money appropriated. So the plan for funds for this program was over the course of 5 years, starting in fiscal year 2025, is that there would be a set of money. So there's a few million each year. It steps up over the 5 years, money to fund state-run initiatives that support employee ownership. So usually that looks like an employee ownership center, but we're hoping to be a part of the conversation of what those guidelines are. What does that look like? How do we create an infrastructure, not just for year 1 or year 2, but to create like a longstanding office within the Department of Labor that continues to grant money in this area. So I wanted to kind of like focus on that a minute because there's just a lot of work to do. We'll be reaching out. A lot of the focus of 2024 is going to be, trying to meet with congressional reps to garner support for this and make sure that money is actually appropriated. There's a ton more to say about this, but we do that a lot in our Policy and Advocacy Council calls. So if you are interested in getting involved and learning more, you can register for the next Policy and Advocacy Council call, and there will be so much more to talk about in the future. So that's enough from me. There's just a couple of the bigger updates. And I'm going to hand it over now to Ellen Vera, our newly elected board director. I'm so excited to have Ellen on our board and she's been an amazing partner for as long as I can remember in doing this advocacy work. And I think the work that Co-op Cincy has been doing to build relationships with all levels of government, and to really make sure that we're engaging with our local officials, it's really inspiring. Like I am constantly just kind of like astounded at the work that you and Co-op Cincy are able to do. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Ellen, just to talk about well, I'll let you do it, an exciting development in Co-op Cincy world.
Mo, just an interruption to remind y'all to speak a little bit slower. That's slower, please.
Oh, thank you for that.
And I appreciate you saying that before I start, because I always talk too fast. So thank you. And thank you, Mo, for such a sweet introduction. Yeah, I feel very honored to be able to serve on the board and just excited to share what we've been up to here in Cincinnati. So as Mo alluded to, we've been doing, advocacy work for, well, since the beginning of Co-op Cincy, but especially heavily, I would say, the last 3 or 4 years. And as a part of that, we worked really hard with our city, and we ended up getting, I guess, a year and a half ago now, $100,000 through our city to go towards the work that we're doing. And one of the lead people that was a part of that was at that point, one of our city council members, Greg Landsman. And then he ended up being elected as our kind of national representative for the House of Representatives for the Southwest Ohio region. It's just last year. And so excitingly, all that work that we had done to really kind of build up that relationship with him, continued forward now to having this relationship with him now in Congress. He ended up sending his chief of staff for the Southwest Ohio region, Barb Bell, with us on our trip to Mondragon in April. And it was just wonderful. She just, I think, got so excited about what she saw. It really, I think just really made an impact on her. And so kind of, I think from all that work, she ended up helping us set up some meetings with the Department of Labor, which Mo was a part of as well. And obviously it was a combination of different things. We ended up applying for a critical job sector grant that was out this summer as an opportunity, and got it as one of 12 cities around the country, a planning grant. I think we're one of 7 that received a planning grant. And so, yeah, just really excited about that. It's a $500,000 planning grant where we will be working directly with our solar and energy efficiency co-op, Sustainergy, to really kind of dig into the quality of the jobs in that sector and how can worker ownership, participatory management, profit sharing, really help to bolster the quality of the jobs in this sector. So it'll be a holistic approach of kind of looking at all the different ways to support these businesses to do that. But we're excited to dig in for about a year and a half, so about 18 months, to kind of do the survey work and understand kind of the base of where everything's at right now, and start to form those relationships with some initial groups of workers and employers, and then hopefully come up with a full implementation plan that then we can go back for hopefully some additional funding for that. So, but I don't think that probably would have happened without all the work that had happened leading up to that. Some of those great, meetings with the Department of Labor, and really some of the education that we were, able to do through all of those pieces. And excitingly, we had one of the senior staff people who's kind of leading up the development of this new office at our Union Co-op Symposium just a couple of weeks ago, and he was able to tour the co-ops and really get a sense, kind of what's going on and where the challenges are. So we're hoping to continue to just, be a part of the process as they work to create this office, and just be able to kind of give them, the real experiences on the ground of what these co-ops are, how they work, and whatnot. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to share, Mo, but yeah, we're really excited that it actually resulted in some actual, resources for the work that we do.
Thank you so much, Ellen. That was perfect. I just wanted to give people a taste of uh of the amazing work to come, and know that it's possible, right? And I think, yeah, I know, Ellen, you and I have talked quite a bit about how hard it can be to actually receive a federal grant, and I know there's a lot of kind of like applying for things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and I just want to, like, I wanted people to hear from you directly, so just to hear like that it is possible, right? I mean, I know that the co-op sector writ large has been supported through the USDA for many, many years, and we want to expand that. We want like all of the departments to be working worker cooperatives kind of into their toolkits of what is available to folks in this country. So thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, much more to come in the future. So I think we're going to shift now. So we have just a few minutes carved out now with folks to just share a little bit about, like what is to come. So we've touched on a few things already. And I will just share here. So, our plans for 2024, we talked a little bit about this in our last Policy and Advocacy Council call, and we're still sharpening kind of like what the goals are for 2024, both for the Policy and Advocacy Council and for the Federation's policy and advocacy strategies, kind of generally. But a few things are really rising to the top here, and one of them, folks have probably heard me talk a little bit about kind of the idea of creating a position paper and really understanding like what is it that the membership of the Federation really wants to be supporting, not just let's make a lot of worker co-ops, because that is like a baseline level, but how does that work intersect with climate justice, with advocating in the home care sector or the child care sector. One of the best ways to garner support for worker co-ops is to go at it from an industry angle, and to really put a flag down that says, we are not just standing for worker co-ops for the sake of worker co-ops. We're doing this because we believe that a different world is possible, and the home care industry does not have to be full of people whose jobs are very insecure and are not paying what these like frontline workers are really worth. That applies to so many sectors. So hearing, kind of working out like what are our advocacy priorities? Is it just worker co-op things? Are we going after industry strategies? So that's one thing, we're going to be talking about. We also talked a lot about creating educational materials. So, and not just create them. So, we have, an advocacy toolkit. The council has developed kind of a toolkit for actually like holding meetings with legislators and their staffers, like how to prepare for them, and tools to be able to just like be totally ready. Shar talked a little bit earlier about just being prepared when you do things like hike the hill, or even just getting on a phone call with your representative. It is important to be prepared, and a lot of those tools are developed. So we actually talked a lot about disseminating that. So figuring out ways that we can share the tools that we've made with worker owners, with people that are kind of just interested in promoting worker ownership, and especially using the 20th anniversary of the U.S. Federation of Worker Co-ops is going to be in 2024, and what a great opportunity! Like 20 years of our really growing sector of worker co-ops in this country, the number of worker co-ops is, like tripled over the last, just the last handful of years. And using this moment where there's a lot of interest in employee ownership to really increase kind of like the knowledge about worker co-ops to the general public. So we have a real opportunity. So figuring out ways to make best use of that opportunity. And then the third piece is, we've already talked about it, like making sure that the Work Act is appropriated and making sure that the Department of Labor really sets up a program that is going to be there for the long haul. So, those are kind of the priorities that we've talked about. There's certainly some honing to do, but knowing that there's a lot of really interested folks here, I'm curious, and we can open up. This is the moment that I pointed to it towards in the beginning, that we want to hear from you. So if there are things that you are that are not on this list that you think we should be prioritizing, or things that you think that we should be endorsing, this is a moment. So I'll just leave it open to folks. If anyone wants, you can come off mute or write in the chat anything that you think that the Federation should be doing, or you can voice support for some of the things that we've already outlined.
Mo, this is Shar. I've really liked, particularly in the past year plus, how the Federation has, as it relates to policy and advocacy, they've laid out templates and talking points for whether it's something that's coming up in Congress for a hearing, or a letter to write, like a template that has been really, really helpful. So I would just encourage, it's not something new, but I would just encourage the Federation to keep on keeping on with that, because it's been really, really helpful for us in the field, so to speak.
Thanks. This is Mo. Thanks, Shar. That's really helpful. I was very excited in our last Policy and Advocacy Council call, where we talked a little bit, like in some specificity, about like what can we do, like sharing messaging that people can drop into their newsletters that kind of like share those tools, or getting feedback to create more of them. Hearing kind of like those specifics about what is useful is really, really, really important. Anybody else? We have just a few minutes left in the session, but this is the moment. Our door is always open, but this is a great moment to just like share, like what's on your minds, what things you want to see.
Hi, this is Kristen from UW Center for Cooperatives in Madison, Wisconsin, and this isn't like a specific idea or request or anything like that, but just something that I've been thinking about and trying to figure out like how to make inroads, is just like trying to model some legislation after like state of Washington, or the legislation that's been either like introduced or passed in the past couple of years around employee ownership, and like figuring out how to get people, like who to talk to in my state, how to get folks connected around the idea. I mean, I'm new to any amount of advocacy, so I wouldn't, I've written a letter to one representative. I've reached out to our lobby, like the cooperative lobbying group in Wisconsin, but that's as much as I've done, and I haven't really, there haven't been any further conversations. So that's something that I've been thinking a lot about, and just putting feelers out and wondering if there's any sort of, I don't know, collective thinking or action around that around the country.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Mo. Thank you, Kristen. That's a great question. So this is actually one of the things that we talk about at the Policy and Advocacy Council calls. And actually, you know what, in the follow-up to this session, I will make sure to include a link from the last Policy Pulse as well, where we did talk about some other state initiatives. You made a very specific call out to the Washington legislation that just passed, and that was very much kind of templatized off of the work that's already happened in California and in Massachusetts, and in other states. And I think, you know, having that kind of like templatized version of what we can be asking for in our different states is definitely on point. It's you know, I think the idea of like kind of strategize around it is really interesting. We do talk about that a lot in the council calls about, you know, okay, like is there a working group, or like how do we get people connected? I think for now, it's great to always just reach out to, if you are interested in doing that work, and if you aren't able to make the Policy and Advocacy Council calls, you know, we're here to meet with folks and do that kind of strategy. As the policy director, I am present in a few different kind of statewide organizing spaces. So California, New York, a little bit of Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. Where we've done a lot of connecting, right? So I think one of the benefits of being part of a membership organization is connecting with other people that are doing this work. I know that Massachusetts folks are about to meet with the Colorado office. So one thing I know from my kind of like staff work plan point of view that I'm thinking about is, you know, how to create forums for actually state legislators to come together. So that's one thing that we might do next year, is create like a space for state legislators or staffers to come and just kind of like hear about what's going on at the state levels, and then equipping folks like you to invite people to that session. So maybe hopefully make it a little bit easier on folks. But that's a really great ask, Kristen. Thank you for that. So we're coming about on time. So I think if anyone has any other questions or things that they would like to see, I would encourage you to send an email to policy@usworker.coop. Please, 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 if you can, right now, we're saving this last minute to get feedback from you all. So if you could, if folks that are here can click on the link and take the webinar survey. It will literally only take you 1 minute to fill out. It's just a little bit of feedback that helps inform creating these spaces in the future, and how we can make this space better. So please take a minute to fill out the survey. We're going to have another one of these in March. We try to have these, I think it's kind of shaking out to about 3 times a year. So if you want to be a really cool advocacy nerd, then you can sign up for the next Policy Pulse, which will be on March 13th. And I'll drop the email for policy at the Federation in the email in the chat as well. So, you know, again, thank you so much all for making time to be a part of this space. It is a true joy to interact with y'all. And be able to be kind of just be present for the amazing work that's happening, and seeing what our members are doing. It's truly too much to track even, and you know, it's my full-time job, and I have a hard time keeping up, and that's really exciting. It's exciting that that we're in a moment where there is so much interest in worker co-ops that it is like nearly impossible to keep up with everything that's happening. So thank you all for your time. Special thanks to TrueStage and the Seed Commons for supporting our language justice at the Federation. They are who made it possible for us to have interpretation for today. And thank you so much to our pals at Senzotle for being amazing interpreters during this time and making sure that the people that are here and the people who are watching the recording are able to just really understand advocacy in the worker co-op sector. So thanks for tuning in. Again, we'll follow up with the recording and the slides, and all of it will be posted on our website. So we will see you again in March. Thanks also to Shara and Ellen for sharing your experiences, and we'll see you next time, everybody.